Arnie Ho, so good to see you, my man. Tell us a little bit about yourself for people who don't know you.
I started X literally at the start of the year. My first post out there, and I think we're close to 6 months closing in. Since then, I've built a bit of an audience. I just hit 3,000 followers actually. Built up a bit of an email list, and I've I've monetized my brand, and as a result, I've been able to actually quit working 9 to 5. So
wow,
here I am.
3,000 followers. Some people with 100,000 followers that still can't do that.
Yeah, that's right. Monetization is a tricky thing.
Yeah, well, we'll dig into that. And so let's back up a little bit. So 6 months ago, you started your X account. Why did you land on X and not Instagram or another platform?
I mean, you could, if you look at me, I'm not suited for Instagram. No,
you don't have a radio face.
Just not photogenic enough. No, like in all seriousness, I think I came in like probably 30-40% of what people come into X from is Dan Co. So he started popping up on my YouTube feed back in the middle of last year, and I was like, who's this random guy with these 30-minute videos just flooding my feed? And I tried to resist, but eventually I succumbed to it, watched one of those videos, and then I got hooked. I just like devoured all of his content, and he sold me the dream of like, you can write your way to a new career. And I was like, well, damn, that's good. And I have tried to do YouTube in the past, but it was like I burnt out because it's just so tiring to do, like try to edit videos and things like that. I was like, well, if I can just write, then that, like, I can send a tweet, like it takes like 5 minutes, or a post, whatever. And so I decided give it a crack, and then I did.
Very cool. I think this is now the 8th episode in this like video series, you could say, and 6 out of 8 came to Twitter because of Danco. That's really interesting. Either we're fishing in like a really tiny pond, or Danco really has like big traction to Twitter. That's interesting. Cool. Okay, so you couldn't resist. Thought you could make it on X, but was there like a little bit of writing background already, or did you just 6 months ago you could hardly write your name, and today like you're I'm exaggerating, of course, but tell me a little bit.
No, that's a good question actually. It's funny, I've had this like love-hate relationship with writing. Like I always I kind of hated writing because growing up in school, I was never very good at English. English is my first language, but like I just always struggled, and I kind of went, oh, maybe it's because like I speak Chinese at home, and maybe that's like impacted my ability to write English. And then my English teachers, I don't know, like I tried really hard, but he always made me feel like I just don't have it. So I always thought that writing was like you've got to be natural at it. And so I had this hate relationship, but then I actually kind of enjoyed it. So for my company that I worked like 9 to 5, I worked 9 to 5 at, as a management consultant, I used to write a lot of their blogs. So I actually wrote a lot of stuff for them, because they'd be like, oh, who wants to write? And I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel like I want to write about it, but I'd hate it in the process because I'm like, oh, my writing sucks. And then, obviously saw the Dan Co stuff and went, okay, well, maybe I can try that. And I sent my first post out. It was horrible. It was like, it's crap. And so I was like, I need to get better at writing. And
nobody saw it anyway, so.
Well, no one saw it, so it doesn't matter. This is a great tip for anyone who's like watching this, who's brand new. Like, who cares? Just like, if you're brand new, the benefit is of being small is that no one's going to see it anyway. So set it out there. I try to improve. And one of the first books that I read about writing, which was On Writing Well, so I highly recommend that book, just changed my whole paradigm of how I see writing. And one of the things he talks about, so William Zinsser, I think is how you say his name, in the book talks about, a good writer is a good editor. And that was something I always hated doing, was editing. But he opened my eyes to realize, actually, it's all about editing. That's how you write well. And so since then, I've fallen in love with writing. So I love writing, actually. Like, that's probably my passion in all of this is writing.
Very cool. Very cool. It's funny because like my Twitter account, I don't know how old is it. It's very old. But then 4 years ago when I got involved in Hype Fury, I hired a guy. I don't know if you know him. Like he's like the old school Danco. His name is Ed Lattimore. He's an ex-boxer turned, writer, almost novelist, you could say. And I hired him to help me write because I'm not a English native, so my English wasn't really good. But I know and I remember I spent more time editing all my posts than I was like writing. And so once it was done, I sent it to him, and he was like, "No, this isn't good. That's not good. That's not good. Try this." And so he rewrote some stuff for me, and then I slowly got the gist of like, that's how you write for Twitter. Slowly, I started getting the hang of that. That's interesting.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Cool. So your first post sucked. Do you still remember what it was?
I actually have no idea.
Oh, that's all we need to know. For people who are just getting started, nobody cares, and even people who make quite a bit of money online right now, even they forget their first post. So yeah. But the important part is, what did you do after your first horrible post?
Just kept posting horrible posts. But like I said, it was just like constantly trying to improve every time, and it was really rough. Like probably that first few weeks was like you send something out, like you slave away, you spend like 2 hours like perfecting this piece of prose, and then you set it out there. Crickets, nothing. It just breaks your heart, and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I'm like, no, I'm committed. Dan Coe said I can quit my job if I do this, so I kept going, and I did get better. To
follow up on that, because did you know when you started out that Twitter doesn't really have like a discoverability algorithm that you need to follow people comment on their stuff, then they'll hopefully follow you, and then slowly you start building your own organic reach? How'd you do that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think back. Like I don't think I understood the rules of the game or anything of how it worked, and so I just kept sending stuff out there. I just engaged on the timeline, like just to learn from other people, and so I naturally did create some traffic to my account, and that's where, and it was great because like on that point actually with engagement, so for anyone who's new, one of the benefits of engagement is that you actually build a really cool network by doing that. Like you meet really cool people. Some of my best friends now, like who I've met through X, just because I love their writing, like are now some of my good friends. And so, yeah, treat engagement not just as like a tool, but it's actually a way to connect with other people. But yeah, I didn't really understand how it worked, to be honest. I just went in there and just wrote stuff and figured it out as I went. I know a lot more now, but yeah.
When did it start clicking? Because I saw your post about January, 0 revenue, February, 0 revenue, and then March, I think $800 or something. When did it start clicking?
I actually hired a mentor, so I got help because earlier on I saw someone who was like ahead of me, not too far ahead of me, but like, who was killing it. Like I was just like, oh man, they're like growing like crazy. Like their account looks really great. They were writing really well. And so I got in contact with them and said, hey, like, do you have any paid services? Because by that point I was kind of sick of just doing stuff and not knowing if it works. And then sometimes it works and sometimes you're like losing followers and you're like, this is so frustrating. And I'm like, I really want to take this seriously. And I don't have time to waste trying to like figure it out myself. So I was like, well, I work a 9 to 5. I might as well, the time that I exchange in my pay, I'll take that and pay a mentor to actually just tell me what to do, and I'll just do it. And once that happened, it's funny, you talk about writing coaching, like that's what my mentor did for me as well. So I would write stuff and then I'd show him, and then he'd be like, this is shit. So like rewrite this, and slowly I just kept doing that, and then it just clicked. Like I was so excited the first time when he was like, yeah, this is good. You're like, there was no feedback. It was like, it was good. And it just felt like I graduated, at that point. And I was like, okay, now I can start writing without, I've got my license to write now.
And for people who don't have the money or don't want to spend the money on a mentor, what will be their process? How can they become better at writing?
There are so many communities that are free out there, so people are willing to do that. And in those communities, typically you should be able to get your writing like roasted by other people. So get other people to actually give you feedback on the writing, because you are your worst enemy when it comes to your first pieces of writing. You've put so much energy and time, and you've slaved away at the sentence, and so you've put so much like sentimental value behind it, and so you're not looking at it from a third party perspective. But when a third party looks at it, they're like, why do you put that sentence there? Like, this is a stupid sentence. And you're like, but I thought it was smart. It's like, no, you're just being cute. It's not interesting at all. No one would want to read that. So I would say try to connect with people, especially good writers, and then ask for help. Obviously give back help as well, because arguably they're probably going to want your perspective. So offer to help, but at the same time you can go, hey, do you mind having a read of this long form post that I wrote? Or do you mind looking at my hook? Because I'm not sure if this is good. That's one. And then the second thing is consume good quality content. So if people have an account where they can get a list, I highly recommend make lists of good writers and just engage with those posts. If you don't, you can just go on the homepage, and then if there's something that grabs your attention, don't just get the dopamine hit. Actually reverse engineer, why did that post do so well? Okay, blank spaces, hooks, okay, right. And then the last thing is giveaways. People do a lot of writing giveaways. If you every day there's going to be a giveaway about writing, just pick it up. It's free. So yeah, there's three things that you can do for free.
No, good tips. All right, and so in January, February, crickets when you look at monetization, but I guess follower growth was already pretty strong then. And then in March, how did you decide to monetize your account, and what did you choose? How did you come up with your offer?
Great question. So I had skills in consulting and coaching, but I didn't have a monetizable skill that is desired necessarily on X. Probably in LinkedIn or something, there's probably an audience for the work that I would do, but I didn't really want to keep doing the work that I did.
What's your day job? What do you normally do?
I'm a management consultant, so I work with in my 9 to 5 I worked in large corporates and help transform their companies basically. Which it sounds, I don't know if it sounds good actually, but anyway, it's okay. It's probably one of the better 9 to 5 jobs I think that you can do, because it's more interesting, but you're still stuck in the corporate world we spoke about, the wonderful
something you
world
can sell
of
on Twitter.
Yeah, not something you can sell. So I needed a monetizable skill, and I wanted to get there fast. And the model that I learned from my mentor was basically you start with one of the skills, and typically audience building is a really good skill to start with because it's really efficient. You can build an audience for yourself, which means you build your personal brand. At the same time, you just sell it, right? So it's it's a fundamental skill that you kind of need to learn if you want to build a personal brand. And I thought, well, heck, why not? It just makes it straightforward. And then in that process, you get to learn other skills that you can add to your offer. But you've got the fundamentals of audience building. So I kind of went down that route.
What was the first step towards monetization?
First step to monetization. It's a big question, because you could say the first step was setting the first post out. But I think
making it a bit more concrete, I guess you need an offer. That's a step. You need maybe an email list to slowly, warm your audience to something you're offering. Take us through maybe your funnel.
Yeah. Well, interestingly, I didn't have an offer when I sold my first offer, which is, as in I didn't write my offer
Somebody
down.
DM'd you. Was an inbound lead, or?
Someone DM'd me, and this was something I'd learned, but basically, you don't necessarily need an email list to begin with to monetize. X is a really great platform on its own to try to bring leads in. It just comes down to the way you position yourself, the content, like how much authority you're showing in your content. I'd also built a community funnel as well. So I'd built a community, and so people, who were there could see my authority as well. I could see that I knew what I was talking about, because I do little things in the community to keep showing up for people to go, oh, that person like knows what they're talking about. I actually kept in my mind, this is maybe from my experience as a consultant, because you always need to kind of like show that you know what you're talking about in consulting. Otherwise, you lose credibility with your clients. But it's the same thing on X. It's like, how do I keep showing authority in the way I do stuff, or write what I write and how I show up? And I almost think like, how can I present myself in a way that someone goes, I'd be comfortable paying for this person? So I never kind of like fell into the trap of, which I think a lot of people do, which is, you kind of act a little bit silly, a bit of a clown online for likes and impressions. Like I always kind of steered away from that, like still be personal and still be like human, but not fall to the trap of like unprofessional. Because people are paying good money for this kind of service. So you kind of want to make sure that they feel like they're getting a premium service.
All right. And so if you would have to sum it up, you started just posting, had no idea what you were doing, found a mentor, he started giving you feedback. And then because of that feedback, because of also a bit of positioning, you were able to, breathe authority, and that naturally attracted people towards you. They started DMing you, and, they just asked, hey, can you help me probably build an audience as well? You said, sure. And how did you come up with a number, and what were like, I guess, the first steps with one or two of those clients?
I mean, like, that's the value of having a mentor. So, when that happens, like, I was like, someone's asking for
what do I do?
What do I do? Now, I've got some sales skills, like, because in my 9 to 5, like, I had to use to sell like big contracts with like big clients. Slightly different, it's B2B, but like there's still similar principles. So I knew how to sell. But what I was selling was the thing that I needed a mentor to tell me. It's like, what do I sell in this situation? Like, what can I sell? So typically it's like, X amount of calls, solve whatever problem that they have, whether it's positioning, whether it's their writing, whether it's monetization, so fleshing that out and then presenting it to them. So my first set of clients were like short engagements, because it was an opportunity for me to also validate, like, I could actually help people build their account, because it's all well and good for me to do it myself. Like, can I actually teach someone how to do it? Which I was confident in, because I can teach my 9 to 5, but I needed to validate that. So I did that, did like 4-week, 1 month engagements with people, help them, get to a result, and learned a lot from it. But from there, I just took those results, and then it kind of snowballs. Like, I kind of feel like the first client's always the hardest, but once you get your first one, it becomes a bit easier because you've got that validation, you've got more confidence as well to be able to sign another client.
Is that also because you started posting, I don't know, testimonials or client results or something like that?
Yeah. I mean, the offer becomes a lot stronger. I did end up building an email list as well. And so on the email list, like, I can also plug like results there. I nurture them through, again, showing what I know on my email list. So they see my content on X, they see my content in emails. It just then becomes a matter of when someone is ready, they're probably likely to choose me to help them.
Yep. Cool, man. Arnie, I learned a lot, man. Thank you so much. Where can people find you?
I'm on X, surprise. So X at the Arnie Ho. So I'm because someone else bloody took Arnie Ho, but I'm the Arnie Ho. And
Leave one alone.
Follow me there. Subscribe to my email list as well, so I can sell you more stuff. No, I'm kidding. I try to entertain people. People tell me that they actually enjoy reading my emails. Like, my recent one was about cleaning Japanese air vents. And a lot of people actually told me they enjoyed that story. My other hit one was about Japanese toilets. I was in Japan recently, so that's why I was like writing about that in my daily emails. So
very cool.
Yeah, follow me there, and we'll have a bit of fun.
Cool, man. Thanks,
Yannick. Appreciate it. This is great.